Hello everybody, welcome to OCHD and welcome to another Jumputi Heroes news video. Today we're going to be talking about something that I was complaining about quite a lot in the latest news video. That is of course the release of the level cap, or rather the skill level cap on a few characters to begin with, but they did say they'd be releasing more later. There was tons of backlash to this. This level 15 update. I saw so many people on Twitter that were so angry about it. So much so that like some of the other information that was released that was equally not something that people would want to hear, they just completely blew past that and they were like, this update is a bad idea. This is a poor implementation and it just seems really greedy, really money hungry, and it's just like locking players out of content, which is not good, obviously. But they've at least done something. I wouldn't say it's particularly impressive what they've done, and I wouldn't say it's well, if anything, it's probably stoked the flames, I would say. They have decided to tell us which characters are going to be getting buffs pretty much most of the lead up to the anniversary. The anniversary being the end of March. They've pretty much told us, I hope, all the characters they currently have planned to get buffed. Now, to be clear, they've got new characters coming out, and seemingly all of the new limiteds will have this level 15 update. So all new limiteds will require an additional 9 jewels to reach the max skill level, which is a hell of a lot. And on top of that, there are now these characters from the past that are being boosted, and it's a tricky situation. Now, I will say it is good to have the information that these characters are getting buffed so that you can plan accordingly. I think at least that much is good, but the update itself, oh my god, people are so annoyed, myself included. And well, let's just go through, because there is a substantial list of characters being buffed here, and they have said that these characters may relate to events that are going on at the time, which is potentially a clue as to some of the stuff that might be coming up that we don't know about. So to get started, we have December. I mentioned before that in December we have the Muso banner coming out, and I thought that most likely, they mentioned the Musos being buffed, they would probably be buffed for that banner, and it looks like that is the case. So during the countdown to New Year's Day, not actually on New Year's Day, but the countdown to it, they're going to be releasing this absolutely crazy Muso banner. It's not necessarily something you should summon on, because it's still 32 multis, but it at least has all of them on it, which I believe is the first time any banner has had all of the Musos on it. So at least in that regard, it's interesting, but it's still, Musos are just so expensive. And despite the fact that it's like Christmas, New Year, they've not been giving out many rubies. They've not been giving out many good sales packs. And, well, to be frank, they haven't been doing so for so long that even if you have been saving, the chances are you just don't have enough rubies for this. But that's fine. Here are the 5 Musos being buffed, which they told us this was coming. We expected this. This is not a surprise. But additionally, we have the 2 limited Yugis and Bobo Pachinosuke, or Bobo Patch Help, apparently. Thanks, Google. No, Bobo Pachinosuke, and we have Exodia the Forbidden One Yugi and Sky Dragon Osiris Yugi. Now, there had been a lot of speculation as to who that dual unit could be, and one of the names that was thrown out by many people was the crossover unit between Yugi and Bobobo. And to be honest, I was quite dismissive of that, because we had kind of already had the Yugi Bobobo meme in the game on the tickets. If you have a Bobobo ticket, you can get a limited on it, which there's no other ticket like that, where it's just like a standard series ticket and they put a limited on it, and it's not even a limited from Bobobo is Yugi. It's a limited Yugi with Exodia. And the reason for that is because there is a gag in Bobobo where Yugi pops out of Bobobo's afro. And seemingly, potentially, that could be that dual unit. That does raise a few questions as to whether it's technically... Is it technically a dual unit? Is it technically a crossover unit? Is it just a Bobobo unit? Does Yugi just appear in the special animation and the ult? How will it work? I don't know. But they really do seem to be pointing in that direction. So I don't really know how I feel about that. But interestingly, it says December. It does not say January. Like, we know January stuff going on down here is stuff that's actually happening in January. Anything that happens from midnight, December 31st, crossing over into the 1st of January, is what is January. So why, like, maybe they're gonna drop the buffs just before they drop the Yugi Bobobo, or maybe this is part of the countdown. I mean, they did say the countdown was in two, or the 21 million downloads was in 2 parts. Maybe part 2 does have some content. Maybe I sold it short. I don't know. I'm assuming that this will be the New Year unit, and there will be other New Year stuff, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, as you can see, just in December alone, like, assuming you had all these characters, you've got the 5 Muso plus the 3 of the limiteds being buffed. So you'd have to have 9 jewels additional for each of those for them to reach their new max level. I assume the Muso characters are going to be absolutely busted, otherwise, well, what's the point? And I don't know what they're going to do with, so because these are like slightly older units, like compared to the characters we've seen buffed already, which was Kirizu Sensei and Luffy. Those both came out a lot more recently than these characters here. That's not to say that these characters here are bad. These are actually, as far as slightly older units go, these are 3 very strong ones. So them getting buffed is quite cool. It's quite interesting. But how will it work comparing them? That's what I'm sort of confused by. Plus, with the Musos being buffed, like, they're obviously going to make it as broken as possible because they're promoting a banner with it for New Year. So they're not gonna not make them strong, obviously. But anyway, like, how do you prioritize which characters you should use jewels on? That's the tricky part here. And I think most people just don't have an answer for that right now. Like, obviously, your most powerful units and your favorite characters probably will take some priority for yourself. But in terms of like a general rule, it's like, how do I know, like, the next unit that comes out isn't going to be absolutely broken, and then I'm going to need an additional 9 jewels on top of the ones I needed before? It's tough. It is tough. They also mentioned in here that the Densetsu characters will be buffed as well. We kind of already knew that. And we will see the Densetsu, the only one right now, which is All Might, a little bit further down. But yeah, okay. Moving on to January. Now, January, again, has quite a few. This time, it's a whole mix of characters from different periods of the game. But, of course, this block here, it's all JoJo. And we know why it's all JoJo, because Part 6 is finally being added to the game and getting its feature festival during this period. So it only makes sense that they would buff these characters. But these 3 here, not quite the same. These are much older units. In fact, these are 3 of the first ever limiteds added to the game. And one of the things I've talked about, obviously, Sagittarius Seiya, for the age of the unit, is very strong. But obviously, over time, so many strong units have come out. But less so for him, more so for these 2. But, I mean, I guess you could include him. How good would he have to be for you to actually consider giving 9 jewels to him? Or even 3 jewels? Like, just say you wanted to buff his special attack and nothing else. How good would he have to be that you would waste 3 jewels on a unit from almost 5 years ago? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Surely that, especially with how few jewels we have available to us, like, why, how can I justify that? Like, if a new limited comes out this month, it'll probably be absolutely busted. But why does one of these units get priority? They never would. So I can understand buffing these old units, but it's been done in such a way that I'm not particularly satisfied with it. What I'm hoping, and I know it's not going to happen, but I'm hoping that they do have planned something for the much older limiteds, the ones from 2018, maybe early 2019, where those units get a special something. Like, well, I've said before, updated sprite would be nice, updated animations would be nice, but even if not, just, you know, like a complete rework almost, because some of these units are so terrible. And just giving them free skill levels, like how big are those skill levels gonna have to be? Because some of these need an extra 100% damage, maybe more. They're in order for their buffs to be relevant, they're gonna need some big buffs. Their stats are not relevant anymore, so you're gonna have to do a mad buff on those characters. As for the JoJo ones, again, it's like we've got a character from this year. Obviously, they're still very, very strong, and they're going to get stronger. Some of these units are not as relevant. Some of these units are much, much older, and it becomes a bit difficult to decide who you'd buff. And it's going to be, if you're a JoJo fan and you've like got all the JoJo units, in a way you might be happy because they all become more powerful and potentially more usable. But in another way, you've got some decisions to make. Now, one of the things they have said is they're trying to use not only characters that are relevant to the current events going on, but also characters that need the buff from back in the day. So I'm guessing these are the characters that needed the buff from back in the day, and these are the characters relevant to the JoJo stuff. Now, this is why part of why I think this is probably for New Year's, because I think they haven't really mentioned any characters that could be related to New Year's here, unless it's these three, in which case I don't know what we're getting for New Year's. But I think we know that Bobobo was supposed to be related to New Year at least, so we'll see how that goes. Then in February is a weird one, but I did warn everybody, and I said this a little while back. I felt like February was going to be a nutty one for them releasing some pretty big units, just because the events they have on during that period, which are the Kawashita Sensei Feature Festival, whatever we call them, Sensei Feature, and the Haikyuu event. Between the two of them, those series only have one limited, I believe, which is the dual Kageyama and Hinata. And, well, you can see there's no buffs to the Haikyuu units there. And we know that the Kawashita Sensei Festival, we've seen 8 characters for that. And we don't really know how that's going to play out. Most likely, we're going to see maybe limited Nishino or something like that. But I did say we have the anniversary of Tower. We have the anniversary of Sparks of a Lost Civilization. I feel like there has to be some sort of massive madness added during this period, just to make this month feel a little bit more beefy. And they tend to do this. February tends to feel like a month where they've packed a lot in, even though it's the shortest month. And what it's kind of looking like that's going to be the case. A buff for All Might. Why they're doing it in February, when I would say it would have made more sense to just do it for the 5th anniversary, that's interesting to me. Especially because we also see Midoriya there. Could there be potentially something to do with My Hero Academia during this period? Maybe. Then we have buffs for Rengoku is an interesting one. I feel like it's such a popular character that it absolutely makes sense for him to be buffed. But what are we getting Kimetsu no Yaiba content during this period? I'm trying to remember when the release of the anime is. When does the new season of the anime start? Let's actually just Google it. Kimetsu no Yaiba Season 3. Kimetsu no Yaiba Season 3 confirmed release window is April. It says April, so most likely not related to the anime. But what is it related to? I don't know. But Kimetsu no Yaiba tends to just find its way in. And then I would say probably... Well, this is tricky, because Naruto makes sense for, like, the old unit getting the buff. But what's going on here? Goku and Vegeta, Straw Hat Luffy, Fire Fist Stage, which, by the way, from the first batch of dual units, these two are still pretty damn strong. Like, so I don't know. I don't know what the plan is there. But yeah, they have said since the 5th anniversary is just around the corner, we're also planning to upgrade All Might. So All Might, if you have him, I do. If you have him, is going to become even more powerful. So that's pretty cool, I guess. And these other characters, I am definitely interested to see, say for example, a character like Rengoku. His support is still very good. Maybe it is starting to get a little bit old. Maybe that buff can like make him very relevant again. But for some of these other characters, like the amount of buffing you would have to do to make that Midoriya good, make him relevant, make him even worth talking about, make me even consider offering him one little jewel. He would have to be absolutely disgustingly powerful. Because his current form, he is so weak. He is so weak. And he's fallen off so far since he was added. So I don't really know. At this point, if you've been adding up the numbers in your head, you're going to see the amount of jewels you're going to need. Oh my god. Oh my god. And then in March, only 3 characters here. I would say Whitebeard and Ichigo fall into the category of older units. Maybe they are tied into the anniversary. But what do we have in March before the anniversary? Medica Box and Black Cat X to Love Rue. Now, so far, none of those series have limiteds. But interestingly, we've only got 3 characters there. I don't know if they're just going to be randomly dropped or whether they're going to be related to something going on during that period. You know, Katekyo Hitman Reborn is a pretty safe bet. These developers love it. But One Piece as well, yeah. But Bleach is interesting because they're a bit inconsistent with whether they want to do stuff with Bleach outside of the Bleach events. They sometimes do, but I feel like out of the big series, other than Dragon Ball, it's one of the ones that's used a bit less. I don't know. And then, yeah, we've got... what else did they say here? Oh, yeah, some of the characters are also going to be buffed before they get their plus whatever. So their level 12 will become stronger. And then on top of that, at level 15, they will obviously have the boosted abilities. So I don't know if that's specifically referring to any of the characters shown here. Or whether that's just something to bear in mind. I can't remember if Kirizu Sensei was buffed prior to her getting her level 15 skills, or whether it was something that was done at the same time. All I know is when I was updating her on the database, her base level 12 was now 500% damage, which it wasn't before. And now it goes even beyond that, which puts her in a similar bracket to the Luffy that was also buffed. So interesting. And yeah, they've posted this, which it doesn't really say anything of substance. It's basically them saying, look, we're making these upgrades. We want characters that came out early in the game to be relevant again. We want Muso characters to be OP. We want to buff characters specifically for certain events. Now that's interesting because there is something in January, February time, a new gimmick / ability being added called Fawn Bubbles. I'm assuming that's more of a stage gimmick, but I assume there will be some ability added to counter it. And my wondering is, could one of these characters be receiving whatever it is you need to counter that as part of their upgrade? It's like, oh, at level, I don't know, at level 15, if you got a level 15 Midoriya, maybe he resists Form Bubbles or something like that. I don't know. But maybe that's one way they can actually make some of these older characters relevant, by making them counter specific gimmicks that new characters don't counter. I don't know. Maybe that's not a very good idea, because then why would people summon for the new stuff? And yeah, people obviously have been complaining. People want certain characters to be stronger. People have some issues with this update, because while they do want the characters to be stronger, what they don't want is to just be priced out of playing the game, which a lot of people kind of have been. And they said we're looking into, it says Pooty Friends voices, but basically just the input of the fans. And we've received a large number of inquiries, and they said they're considering setting up a place where they can answer more frequently. I like the idea of that. However, if you've been around for a while, like, well, I'm sure many people watching have, but also I have too long, way too long. You may know that they've been on and off with this responding to fans' voices thing. You know, we used to get surveys about what characters you wanted added to the game. We used to get quite frequent updates on here's all the things the devs are working on, and you know, have your say in what the devs should be trying to improve in the game. Could be quality of life updates, could be rewards, could be anything, and they'd respond to them one by one, and they'd give us status updates, and they kind of just stopped doing that, and now they're starting to do that again, supposedly. But the reality is they know what the problem is, but they don't want to fix it, because to them it's not a problem. They don't want to give you more jewels, because if they don't give you more jewels, the only way you can get them is spending money. And they don't want to give you more rubies, because if they don't give you more rubies, the only way you can get more is by spending money. And it's a terrible approach to handling the management of a game like this. It's not capitalizing on what could be a fantastic game, and I think that's a shame. And I'm a little bit disappointed in what their approach has been and what it looks like it is going forward. But hopefully they have some good news for us for New Year. Until they do, I guess I'll leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.